I've just finished translating a rather interesting interview of group of people talking about the situation in Reykjavík with the earthquakes and eruption. And I did the translation live and into English. I hope I did the people justice. And I'm not a professional translator, but I think I did a quite good job, and there might be some errors in it, but I think the point comes across correctly. I think it gives a good overview and maybe clears up some misinformation that is spreading about the situation. And I did prepare a little bit with some translation beforehand so that I would get some scientific words correctly. And yep, I will just play the translation, and I will add some my own thoughts a little bit at the end, my few cents that I have. But I think let's play the clip. And also I forgot to mention this is a recording from 2nd of February, so it's been 4 days, and I've only been able to have time to record the translation now. But yeah, this is from 2nd of February 2024. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the episode Pallborð here at Vísir. Why did the gods get angry when the lava burned on which we now stand? It said that Snorri had said that at Þingvellir when they were arguing about the christening of Iceland. This lava field we call Svínahraun, and that is part of the volcanic system that we are talking about now, especially the one that is maybe the system opening up that is very close to Reykjavík. And could the citizens of Reykjavík be seeing the same effects of that the ones in Grindavík are what the citizens of Grindavík are experiencing? But we have the mayor of Hafnarfjörður, Rósa Guðbrandsdóttir, and Kristín Jónsdóttir, specialist at the Met Office, and Magnús Tumi Guðmundsson, specialist in, I think, earth crust or something like that, at the University of Reykjavík. I want to start closer to what's happening today. That's the volcanic system in Sundhnúkagígar. What is happening now? Is there eruption there happening in the next few days? Yes, the likelihood is increasing that there will be an eruption. We know that there is a magma chamber there, that the magma is flowing into it, and it will happen that the magma cannot stay there any longer, and it's most likely that it will go in the same pathway as previously, the one that is north of Grindavík. What we can do is to calculate make assessment from the deformation measurements, where it's increasing and then blowing up, and we can make assessment of how quickly the magma is building up, and depending on that, and if we think that it will handle the same amount of magma as last time, then we can see that in the next few days, maybe 3-4 days, we will be in a period of 2 weeks where the likelihood of magma intrusion or eruption, magma intrusion and then eruption. Last time we got eruption not only outside of Grindavík but also inside Grindavík. Can we see the eruption happening at the same location? Well, this rift is about 11 kilometers long. and what kind of events are we entering. We are probably early in a event that will take a long time and will repeat many times. And we look at the history and how these systems have behaved before. And it fits that there's around the same lava flow as one Elliðaá, which is a river in Reykjavík. The same amount of lava, river of Elliðaá is flowing as magma into the chamber under Svartsengi. And this will last for quite a while. And it could happen that eruption will be situated at a different place on this rift. First rift was somewhere in the middle, then the next one was quite south, and then next one could be further north, and it could be happening somewhere between the two eruptions, the December and January eruption. We cannot say. We will just be prepared that it will happen, something similar, somewhere on this rift. And Grindavík is exposed. Grindavík is the place in Iceland that is, if you evaluate all the facts, then Grindavík is the one that is most exposed of any habitated place in Iceland. And it's quite interesting if we look at the history of Iceland that in the 50-year period we got eruption in the two cities that were most exposed, Vestmannaeyjar and Grindavík. This is our fate that we are delivered. And the conversation has moved to Reykjavík. And let's look at the map. These are earthquakes. These are the Met Office put this together. The group of Suðurland put this together. Earthquake last 12 months. People have interpreted this in different ways. If you look at the headlines in the last few days, they are quite visible. The volcanists, specialists in volcanoes, Þorvaldur and Ármann, they think that the new volcano system is waking up. Rosa, you live in Hafnarfjörður, and the conversation has been about Hafnarfjörður. What do you think about this? When the people are thinking about the eruption in your city, the conversation has been in different ways, and it's interesting to look at the conversation. It's unusual times. People are talking about Hafnarfjörður, and now they are talking about even larger parts of the capital area. Sometimes people are quite quick make a statement, and maybe it depends on the time of day or on certain areas. It is not normal. It's a quite unique. It's a unique circumstances and many things to take into account. We in Hafnarfjörður and places around Hafnarfjörður, we mostly look at that there will be a heildstætt mat is like a comprehensive assessment about the whole situation. They are preparing a summary report on this, will be ready in the spring, and there's not just individual giving their opinion, but there will be a summary report of everything that could take place in the near future and next generations, next centuries. And we are waiting for this report, and until then we just trust our scientists. That's how we look at it. What's happening now is mostly in Svartsengi. We have been preparing a summary report on this, where our best scientists are working together to give a report. And when we have a model of what could happen, then we can start to make preventive measurements. And I think that today we are all learning how it's behaving. Of course, the nature is unpredictable, but we did put protective walls in Reykjavík. If we only put some drawings, like start making a design of protective walls around capital area, it's very valuable, and I think it's very clear that we're going to do eventually. How about you two? How do you see what's happening in Brennisteinsfjöll and Bláfjöll? It looks like you don't agree whether it's a magma intrusion or just normal earthquakes. I think me and Tumi agree that there's no evidence that there's magma intrusion in the area that you mentioned, Brennisteinsfjöll. Isn't that the system? The earthquakes last weekend, they happened north of the fault line. It's called Hvalhnúks fault line. If we look at the map of the earthquakes, it's a long period that they show, but if you look at Hlíðarvatn in the south, the earthquakes are in a line north-south and everywhere. But we are looking and waiting for an earthquake magnitude 6, even 6.5, 3, 6.5, maybe 6.5 is the maximum. And that could result in damages in Reykjavík. Yes, it could result in damages. There will be some cracks in the walls. But our building code in Iceland is in a way that we don't have to worry about any buildings collapsing. And the fault line is outside of Reykjavík, even though Reykjavík is close. But luckily our building code is very strong. So our houses are well built, so we don't need to worry about them, any catastrophe happening. And it's important to think about Reykjanes as an earthquake place. And there's a Flekaskil is tectonic plates movement, tectonic rift. It's not only earthquakes happening when there's a magma movement, but also when the crust is moving, similar to what's happening in the south of Iceland. There's similar earthquakes there, unrelated to any magma intrusion, we can predict that there will be earthquake 6 every 50 years in that area in Brennisteinsfjöll, of magnitude 6. How about you, Magnús? Thorvaldur says that it's only a matter of time until it erupts there. Don't you agree with him? That's correct. Everything is a matter of time. And it's important to look at the timeline. If we look at previous events, maybe you have a map of the magma or the lava from last eruption, a historical map of the last. These are the eruptions from 8th century till 1300. These are a 400-year period. This is typical how the previous eruption period in Reykjanes, which was 400 years, happened 800 years ago. This is our best estimate of what we can expect. Some of the events that they say are happening, it's most likely that we that sit here will be dead and buried when that happens, and a new generation happens, because these are centuries of time frame of centuries. So when we look at previous events, it's usually one volcanic system at a time, and these categories that we make from rift lines and which one is active at a time, maybe it's the same type of magma coming and same source, but if there's a hole somewhere, if you look at a diesel tank, then the water will go there. It's the easiest path. Then it closes in time, and then a new hole appears somewhere else. We are rifting the land, and there's such a pressure that it starts rifting, and the magma comes up. Now we see Fagradalsfjall and Eldverksvatnsengi. It's the same magma coming up. The activity is there, and it's important to keep in mind that earthquakes in Brennisteinsfjöll, there's no evidence that any magma is coming up, as Kristín mentioned. If this happens, we cannot, and it will happen eventually, whether we who sit here will see that or not, we don't know. It may be or maybe not. Maybe the preparation time, once we start seeing magma coming up in Krýsuvík or Brennisteinsfjöll, similar to what we saw in Fagradalsfjall, is going to be few years of increased eruptions and increased earthquakes. This takes time. It's what kind of a timeline we see in each human lifetime. Maybe there's 1 or 2 volcanic system active, and then comes a human lifetime that none of the volcanic systems are active. There was no eruption in Reykjanesskagi from a year 1000 to 1150, as an example. The gods were very quiet at that time. It's not, you don't look at not continuous events happening all at once. And we need to prepare the society to be ready for this event. And being ready is very good. But I think it's very good to design, but start building up any protective walls around Hafnarfjörður. It's not the time. It's good to design it, but if the magma starts building up in Reykjavík, then we can do that. But we have to see it happening, and it's not happening now. Design it, yes. One more thing, we need to think about any we need to think about any design and city planning. To take any natural threat into account in city planning. And the law of city planning is not strong enough. It's not taken into consideration enough. If we take it into the law, then we are thinking into the future. Just like we said, the Code of Building Houses in 1968, I think, it showed that when the earthquakes happened in 2000, the buildings were built after the law was implemented, they stood very strong. And we need to look at where the rift lines are. This is the most important. Look into the future and build the society that so we can handle any threat. You can look at the headlines, not just the last few weeks, but few months. You can see the examples. Are people in Hafnarfjörður scared? What do people who just built houses in Vellir, the neighborhood Vellir, what are they thinking? Well, they are thinking many different things. Is it not responsible conversation, or I don't know. It's a very interesting for all the scientists to look at it, and people say different things. I think I can agree that we should take into consideration what people are hinting at. It makes you scared when certain neighborhoods are, when you're focusing on certain neighborhoods. Just like the scientists are saying, there is such unpredictability in the whole thing. We are learning. Let's take into account what we can do to prevent, where to build, when we have a model and estimate of the whole thing, then it's of course then we will not hesitate in Hafnarfjörður to plan it in a way that the planning is correct. Obviously. Well, let's learn from it. Let's breathe in and out. Let's be careful of our declarations. Sometimes they make people like hysterical or scare tactics. I'm not a specialist. It's good to listen to them, the specialists. It will have some evidence, a long lead-up time. Let's design where we can build protective walls. And that's how we can live with this awesome nature that we have. We are learning from these events that are happening in Grindavík. Let's learn from it, and maybe not to fuel any unnecessary scare tactics. It will have a lead-up time, and everyone who is building, everyone who is working for the city are preparing for something that could happen, and we trust that we be quick in taking any measurements that are necessary. Have scientists been fueling unnecessary fear in the conversation? That's not me to judge that. We are all doing our best. Sometimes it's even the media that is responsible. Usually the headlines is something that scientists can't decide. Sometimes they are not representative of what the interview was about. Sometimes it's more people who are responsible for the conversation. Everyone wants to do a quality job and be precise. And it's also important that it's important for everyone to have a voice and say what we are thinking. This is a group of scientists who have different education and different background. And it's important for all voices to be heard. It takes time to get the rhythm that the conversation be in the best. I want to say I agree. There are some big headlines, and when you read the interview, there's much different than the headline was. What the headline was hinting at. It's a very serious matter, and we need to all be level-headed in the conversation. I don't think that anyone is trying to have a scare tactic, but it's important how people present the evidence. As time passes, and we are getting more information from the specialist, people start realizing that we need more people on the table to make a plan for us and do the assessment. Have scientists been irresponsible in their conversation, or has it only been the media who was irresponsible? I have experience in talking to being interviewed, and if you don't think about what you're saying and how it sounds, especially in newspapers, it's good to repeat at the end what you think is the main point. So just to summarize what he's saying, when he's being interviewed and he's just like talking from his like a cuff or going all, talking about lots of things, and then at the end he realizes maybe some of it was not clear or could be misinterpreted, certain lines. At the end of the interview, to repeat what was your main topic, so that there will be no misunderstanding. There was an interview about how the lava flows, and he mentioned that if the lava will flow there from this place to this place and to the Blue Lagoon, it will take 90 seconds for it to flow when it's flowing. This was the headline, and it was not at all what he, how it was presented. It was not what he said. It is a sensitive matter, and it's not good when the media is putting the clickbait headlines. We are sitting here with Vísir, and you're not the main corporate. I want to mention that. We, as a so-called specialist in our area, we are communicating and saying our mind. We need to be careful how and have a quality. Vanda sig is like take care of how we say things and not to be misunderstood or misinterpret, that people cannot misinterpret us. I think that's what he was saying. Is what we need to look is the time scale. Is it going to happen tomorrow or in 30 years? It's very different. If we look at what's happening in Reykjavík, it's going to be taking a long time. And if you look at the history, there's a period for time that things are happening, and then comes a lull time when nothing is happening, and we are now in the thing. And now we are in a period where, the activities are happening in Reykjavík, and it's important for us to build up a society that we can withstand these threats. And it means designing where the electrical line is, where the roads are, be always a backup system. So many things like that we need to think about. But the threat, if we look at the threat, which one is in danger of where the lava will flow? We know all these things. But let's take it together as a summary and be level-headed and make a correct plan. We've done this in other areas. In the last, if we look 25 years back, most activity was in Vatnajökull, in the Eyjafjallajökull, and we were scared of water floods, and we put lots of planning because it could happen so fast. We have to be very good plan on where to close and everything. I have been ready for decades. We need to build this up, make it stronger. In Reykjavík, we need more plans. Be ready. Everything will have its lead time. Lead up. It will not come as a thief in the night in front of Hafnarfjörður without anyone noticing it. There will be a long lead up time. It's gonna take lots of effort to bring the lava up to the surface. We saw it in, I think he's talking about Fagradalsfjall. He said Reykjaneskai, but we saw it in Fagradalsfjall. Before we start making big construction, we need to see things happening. In my mind, we need to make a law on city planning. Let's look at the construction in Hafnarfjörður. Here is the lava, and they're building a bridge And the reason for this bridge is because they are planning for a new neighborhood of Hafnarfjörður in the lava. Now they are putting some millions into building a bridge. Then we will have a lead-up time and for building protective walls if the threat comes up. Now they are planning for a new neighborhood in Hafnarfjörður. There's a trucks building this bridge. Are we totally out of line here? Or what do you think? No, we are not at all. There is no reason to stop the construction. As they are mentioned here, there will be a lead-up time. If people think that there is a need for, if you look at this road or the neighborhood, from there will be any danger of lava flow or anything, then we will have time to build protective walls. Of course, we continue until something else, until we have other new information. Then we have some time to take preventative measures when we see the results of the report, and then we hopefully have some years of build-up time and warning. We have to believe that if we are gonna live in this country, I don't know about you, but now they're building a bridge in that area, and they're building an airport there. If they build on lava and útsett, it's like I think I wrote it down. If the area is exposed to danger of lava or something like that, then you can think in a way that we add the cost of the barrier into the cost of the house, so it'd be subsidized. How do you say that? Subsidized. So the cost of the barrier be set into the price of the house. And the house be twice as expensive, and then maybe no one wants to buy the house. If we need to look into the future, and generally building in the lava field, it's not advisable because we have so many other options north, lots of options to build. When we have those options, I think it's normal to build where there is when the area is not exposed to the danger. Let's not increase the vulnerability of the capital area by putting neighborhoods in a danger zone. If the lava flows there, as it did previously, into the ocean, it's going to be a huge problem that could have been avoided. This is exactly what we need to think about into any planning, any future planning, that likelihood of these events be taken into account, just like we did with snow avalanches. and we built up a society with those ideas and look at and if we do that, we have more time to look at the positive sides of living in a country where we have the hot water and the swimming pools and the tourism, and we can, because there's two sides of the coin. This is one of the most interesting geological places in the world, and tourists come here to look at it. Even though we live so far north, we can have hot water in the swimming pools and outside swimming pools whole year round. There's two sides of the same coin. How about you, Christine? Are you gonna advise what's her name? Are you gonna advise Rosa to stop building in the lava? We are building a danger assessment that the Met Office is with cooperation with many other people. We're building up this hættumat is like a risk assessment. You can't forget that. What we are looking at now with what's happening in Svartsengi and the eruption in Fagradalsfjall happened in 2021, so it's happening very quickly. So if we are looking at the city planning and all that, they didn't really have that in mind. Those eruptions in Reykjavík. We're looking at the risk assessment, and they are making it more quick, finishing it more quickly regarding the eruption risk. And it's important to do quality work, to be precise, and make assessment of where the lava will flow and where the infrastructure is and how we can build barriers. And now we know that the barriers work, which is fantastic, that you can build lava we can't stop the lava, but we can divert it. And it's important that in peacetime, so to speak, we prepare ourselves. So if it happens that those systems that are closer to the capital area starts waking up. So now the area in Vellir has been the biggest growth of the municipality of Hafnarfjörður. Are you going to change the plans there? As Christine says, we are going to have time to see where it's heading and what advice we get. We have a certain system regarding the growth of the city, and we are starting to grow up above Hvaleyrarvatn, which is in a good location. It's safe, and time will tell. As it stands now, we need to trust that we will have time to learn from the events and design and prepare the walls that are showing its that it will help, and we just keep going. We can't do anything else. We were making a plan of predicting the lava flow, and you're saying that we should focus on building it north of the capital area. if we have the choice between building certain places, that is, if we have the choice to build some place that is safe, and then we have another option to build where it has a potential of lava flow, and we need to start building protective walls around that later on, then it's a very easy decision, and it shouldn't make any difference which municipality it is. We need to think of the whole area as a whole. In my mind, you can see that we can see that the protective warrior. We saw that the protective walls did a good job in Grindavík, but we need to keep in mind that it was a tiny eruption. And if we get a bigger eruption, for example, the lava that flow in called Ögmundarhraun, it's a lava that flow very quickly and had a very big flow in a short period, then we are not sure that you can't be sure that any protective wall will help necessarily. It's not, the barriers will not just magically fix all our problems, and that you can just build behind the walls and it's going to be safe. It's not like that. We are adding to the sensitivity of the area by building on risk areas. So when we have the option to build on lava, on older lava fields, compared to building on a older bedrock that has no risk of a lava flow, then it's obviously much better for our community not to have the weight of having to start building protective barriers and cost of protecting something that we didn't have to build. We need to look at it as a whole, and luckily there is not many neighborhoods who are exposed to this danger. Grindavík is one of it. Just look at Njarðvík and Keflavík is outside of any risk area regarding this. Vogar is not safe, that's correct, but Vogar is not at all as is not in the same level of risk as Grindavík. It has, so he's saying there is some risk in Vogar, but it is not as high as Grindavík. Vallarhverfi in Hafnarfjörður is on a relatively new lava, but it is relatively easy to protect Vellir. But what situation are we in? We already built, and let's make it safe where we have already built. We can do many we should play out the cards that we have already and not add the risk areas, the sensitivity of the by building out into lava fields. If we add neighborhoods on lava fields, then we're adding the risk of adding to our risk.
Finnst þér líklegt, Rósa, að þið í Hafnarfirði þurfa að fara með stuðningi ríkisvalds að reisa bara varnargarða í kringum Vellir?
Do you think it's likely, Rosa, that you need to ask the government to help you to build protective walls around Vellir?
það framtíðarsýn af
Is that our future? I don't think so, but we don't need know what will happen in the future. It's very good to design any preventative measures or protective measures, but I am not a specialist in the lava flow or the magma chambers, and we have luckily specialists in this that are going to make a map, and we are building this risk assessment. We did the risk assessment of the earthquakes already, and we trust that we get good tools, and we will do anything that we need to protect houses and homes and companies if we need to. We saw lava flow into Elliðaárdalur. What kind of time frame are we looking at? It's 5,000 years ago that happened. That's correct. We haven't seen a big eruption like that in 5,000 years, and it could happen again, but I think we could stop with some protective measures if that need. But we are not going to build protective walls in rainhólar because maybe something will happen in the future. Maybe we live in this country. Now we know that we know the risk. We can assess which one is exposed to those risks, and that's how we build the Iceland of the future. If this happens, we have plan B. We have to have money to. We have to have reserved some money to deal with anything that can happen in the future. We are one of the richest countries in the world. Here you can build houses and good to be in a modern society, because we can use. This was one of the poorest. It was one of the poorest countries in Europe until maybe 70, 80 years ago. Now we can use the heat, we have the cheapest electricity in Europe, and these are some of the positives of living here. Are people in Grindavík going home any time in the future? If we look at Grindavík, it's not me to decide. But it's obvious that while the magma is growing and building up under Svartsengi, we live under this risk of eruption close to Grindavík, and while it's like that, then there is a risk. The cracks that have come up in Grindavík are not going to heal by itself, they're not going to close by itself. I think when we see the magma build up under Svartsengi, and when that has stopped and earthquakes have stopped and things have calmed down, then it's possibility to think about going back to Grindavík. You can hear that people of Grindavík are óþreyjufullur, anxious to start their companies again, going home and opening their factories again, go home. What do you think about this? I think there's a difference between living in Grindavík and work in Grindavík. There's a big difference. If you live somewhere close, There's a fish factory and harbor and lots of things, and lots of tjón is like a loss of property or financial loss if we just abandon all that. So you need to think, how can we play from these cards? I think it's not at all possible to live in Grindavík in the situation now, but to be there and to work for 5-6 hours and then go out at night. So let's say if there's earthquake happening, then everyone there will get a warning, and they go, and everyone is left in 10 minutes in the car out of the city. As if we think about how the eruptions are behaving and the time frame that we have, it was very little in December, just about an hour warning. We can work there, and then everyone is ready to leave if something happens, and then they leave. But if you live there, you have to be able to sleep there and enjoy your time. But that's not the option today. There's a big difference. You need to play your cards in a way that you minimize the financial loss by using the work opportunities that present itself in Grindavík. He's talking about harbor and all the factories and all the things with acceptable risk. And I think it's obvious that by the situation how it presents itself now, you cannot live in Grindavík. But just to interpret it a little bit from my side, I think he's saying like how it is today. He's not saying it's not possible sometime in the future. He didn't say that, but that's how I read it. Just right in the end, there's more risk of a big earthquake in the capital area than eruption. There is something we've talked about many years. There was a 68, there was an eruption, earthquake, and I lost the date. There was 26, I think, and there was a earthquake and some damages to houses in Reykjavík. Buildings were not built in the same way as they are now. There were some cracks in the Langholtsskóli elementary school, cracks in the walls. Let's use the time before the earthquake comes to go over these issues. What can we do better in our area? What are we going to do during the earthquake? It could be possibly difficult to call people because everyone is trying to call each other, and let's go before things happen to prepare ourselves and talk about it. Let's finish here. Thank you so much for coming, and we say that the Pallborð episode is finished. Thank you. Yeah, so again, I hope I did the people justice with my translation. And I think the main point here is that what's happening in Reykjavík is gonna be happening for few hundred years. The eruptions, it's not gonna erupt all occasions all at once, and there's always gonna be some lead up time before a new system starts erupting. Um, there's 2 points that I think are worth mentioning that maybe didn't come across correctly, or I didn't feel it did justice, even though obviously I'm not a scientist or specialist in it, but common sense shows me and that, and it's yeah. I'll just talk about it first. The protective barrier. If the eruption in Grindavik had continued for 2-3 more days, we don't know how long the protective barrier would have lasted with a longer eruption, because just diverting it, but for how long is it going to divert it? And the second point is that we have a completely different situation in Grindavik compared to the capital area, where we had somewhere to divert the lava flow. So if we look at Vellir, I mean, where are you going to divert the lava flow? Are you going to divert it to the aluminium factory or further? I mean, you have to have somewhere to divert it to. So it will be interesting to see what they come up with. Hopefully it's not a situation that we are going to run into in my lifetime, but it could happen. So I think that's kind of something that I haven't seen mentioned anywhere. But I thought it was a good interview. I learned a lot, and I trust that they have all our best interest in heart, and the so-called politicians in Iceland are good at listening to the scientific facts, and I think they deserve some respect for listening to the scientists when making these decisions. All right, let me know if you like those kinds of translations. Maybe I'll be able to make few more if I see something interesting. And yeah, catch you later.